Good morning, Internet. All right, we're here with Vanilla Rice, and I just want to level with you guys for a minute. When I bought this car, I was really excited by it because, I mean, it was the car I really wanted in high school. You guys have heard me say that a million times, but I wasn't ready to be the 1G Eclipse spokesperson on the internet. And you guys that are, you know, decades into the 1G DSM game, my bad, probably don't think that I know anything, and that is absolutely true. But a ton of people on the internet are coming to my videos, watching them, and asking me for actual advice. So I wanted to make this video to sort of nip things in the butt a little bit. So please, if you're gonna ask me questions, watch this video first. Before you buy any 1G DSM, watch this video because we're gonna talk about things. Just to answer a couple of things that I've gotten in my YouTube inbox and in comments and on Facebook and Instagram and everything else that I'm so tired of answering. What do you need to look for when you buy a DSM? The first thing to really consider before buying any used car is the shape that it's in and your budget. So you've got to understand you're not gonna buy a running car for $300. I bought this car, it needs a lot of love. And that's the only reason I got it for $300. You're not gonna find a daily driver car for, you know, $500. The next thing that is just used car buying knowledge, really, is don't buy a used car without a ton of records. I mean, you can, but you're not really gonna know what you're getting into. This car didn't come with a ton of records, and that's okay because, once again, $300 forgives a lot of sins. I knew that going into buying this car. When you're looking at one of these cars, one of these 1G, 2G, DSMs, whatever floats your boat, I like the 1G, and I like the 1GA because flip-up headlights. That's the best part, and 6-bolt motor. Couple of things. First thing, if you live somewhere where you know what road salt is, you're probably gonna have rust. You need to check underneath the car. I got lucky. This car doesn't have a ton of rust. I really lucked out because I live in the South. This car has been in Louisiana most of its life, I believe. So rust, not really a thing. But otherwise, I mean, parts are getting hard to find for these. So you are gonna need to check it for rust, check to see if it's falling apart, because that could be the difference between a good car and a bad car. Next thing, Fast and Furious modifications, I like to call them. These cars had the misfortune of being really popular about the time Fast and Furious came out. I know that because I had one. I had a 1.8 front wheel drive 1GB, and luckily there's no photographic evidence that that car ever existed because it had underglow and a wing and 20-inch rims, and I'm not proud of myself at all. When you look at these cars, if they've got any of those racer boy modifications, it probably wasn't taken care of because the last owner was probably some high school jackass who doesn't know what he's doing. Once again, I was a high school jackass who didn't know what he was doing and put a frickin' giant carbon fiber fake wing on the back of a front wheel drive car because I wasn't very smart. I regret it. Moving on. The biggest thing though, before you even consider buying these, spend like 2 or 3 days on DSM tuners. Most of the information I'm giving to you right now, you're gonna find right there. I say that because I keep getting asked these questions, and I mean, it's all on DSM tuners. And also, if you go to a Facebook page, you know, you can ask questions, but do yourself a favor, do a little Googling first. It's not gonna kill you. I mean, I've spent more time on DSM tuners and all sorts of different pages just looking up info on this car as I'm working on it. Because to be completely honest, if you're one of those guys that's asking all these questions, truthfully, up until last summer, I was you. I have no shame in that because, I mean, that's how you learn things. You learn things by doing it, not by sitting there and hypothetically doing it. That's That's why I really wanted this car. I wanted to do the thing. Next thing, you probably don't want to buy somebody's project. If that car that you're looking at buying looks like mine does right now, oh my God, steer clear, run away. Unless you're just gonna pull the whole motor out and everything. Yeah, you don't wanna buy a car and then a big box full of loose bolts. Another really common question that I get is, how do I tell if mine's all-wheel drive? Well, they're really easy. A couple of different ways. You look under it, if it's got a transfer case and a rear diff, then you've got rear-wheel drive. The next thing is look at the VIN number. Now, where's the VIN number? There's one in the door and there's one under the hood, for sure. And I believe there's one in the window. Not 100% sure. I haven't really looked. I just looked at the one on the door. And that will give you all of the information you need. The next most common question that I get is, would this be a good daily? Maybe? I mean, when I was in high school, I drove a 1.8 every day, and it only blew up like 10 times over the course of 6 months. But seriously, these cars are getting old. You don't see many older cars being daily driven that aren't on their last leg. And if you're gonna buy something like this, it's probably good that it's not your only car. I currently have too many cars. So I'm not in a rush. If this car doesn't get done for another year, that's fine. I don't need it to be running. It's not essential to my livelihood. It's fun. So I guess, would I suggest buying a DSM as a daily? Yes, no, maybe. It really depends on your priorities. If you can find one that is really well sorted, you're gonna spend $7,000, $8,000 on it, but it should be reliable. I would just hate to have to, bet my paycheck on this car. The next most common question that I get asked about the Eclipse, no, I'm not gonna sell it to you. Honestly, if I ever do sell it, the previous owner has first right of refusal. I gave that to him because he cut me a deal, and I've been talking back and forth to him, and he's got a lot of information on this car, which is really useful, and I would love to see it back with him if I ever do sell it. I don't want to see it sent to high school me. That just seems like a bad idea on so many levels. But seriously, if you're going to look at buying a DSM, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. You need to do your research. That's the biggest thing. I'm gonna put the links down below to some of the stuff that I found when I was looking. It's all on DSM tuners and a couple of different pages. And the biggest thing, if you're looking for a running daily driver, bring someone with you. Even if you don't know a mechanic, you have someone that is more mechanically inclined than you want a second opinion. And if you don't have that friend, talk to the buyer, say, hey, I wanna take this to my guy at the shop, get him to put it up on the lift, look at it and give me an opinion. You might spend $100 on that. It's worth it for a peace of mind. Really, there's so much more stuff. And I know Ed, Blue Falcon, Tony, all of you guys are gonna comment down below on other stuff that you need to look for when you're buying one of these cars. And I'm probably gonna end up making a part 2 with a lot of their responses, because the internet is the biggest thing with these cars. You've got a huge community. You've got so many helpful people that want to see these things keep running. And that's by far my favorite thing about DSM ownership, is the fact that there's all these people that are rooting for you. They all want to see another one of these cars on the road, because the more time passes, the further these things are away from new, and it's really kind of sad. So look, if you're going to buy a DSM, Eclipse GSX, a Talon TSI, a Plymouth Laser, I just like saying laser, freaking lasers, then definitely spend some time on the forums. Spend some time getting to know some of the guys that are already on them and ask them questions, but be sure to do a little Googling first, because the worst thing is questions that constantly get asked and constantly already have answers somewhere out there. And I'm guilty of that too. That's fine. Oh, and last thing. Anybody need a hairdryer? I got a 14B. Just a little heads up. This is out. Something bigger is going in. Anyway, look, that does it. That answers some of the most frequently asked questions that I get about this car on these videos. And hopefully with the comments and some input from some more seasoned DSM enthusiasts, I can make a part 2 and really get some more technical information to you. So, Google is your friend, DSM Tuners is your friend, the ability to read is your friend. So, happy car buying or fixing. That's gonna do it. I'm gonna try to pull the suspension off so I can replace it very soon with that set of Coney Yellows that friend of the channel, Tony, who hopefully I'll get to see his Eclipse up and running soon. Just having fun spinning around now. You spin me right round, baby, right round. I have greasy fingers and I'm dizzy.